name says, my name is Natasha Reed, and I am here today to share the story of my son, Chase, who is a heart transplant recipient. At 24 weeks gestation, I was diagnosed. 24 weeks gestation, Chase was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect. Just at 21 weeks, I found out I was pregnant. So, went to the doctor for a well-woman's checkup, just your annual checkup, make sure everything's okay, all the ladies know what that's about. And I go in and my doctor's like, oh, we're gonna, check everything, make sure everything's okay. She pulls out the little ultrasound machine, and this is what I saw. And I was like, that's cute. Whose baby is that? Who left it on the screen? Okay. And she's like, I can't leave somebody else's baby on the screen. That's your baby. And I was like, no, I'm just here for regular stuff. And she's like, well, congratulations, you're pregnant. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you. So on that particular day, I found out that I was due on November the 16th. I was having a little boy, and I was 21 weeks pregnant. Okay, that's a lot to swallow real quick. So, of course, because I didn't find out till further along, I was at the point in my pregnancy where mothers go to the doctor, and they need to find out if you got 10 fingers and 10 toes, if you got 4 chambers to your heart, you got all of that. I went at 24 weeks to get all this checked out. I go in, the ultrasound tech is doing her thing. She's running the thing over my stomach, and she's like, Mom, I'm looking at his heart, and I don't want to alarm you, but it doesn't necessarily look like the 4 chambers of the heart are there. I'm not completely registering what she's saying. So she's like, but I don't want to alarm you. I'm just an ultrasound tech, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you to a specialist. We'll have your doctor send you to a specialist, and you'll have the opportunity to get a little more clarification. So I go to the specialist, and at 24 weeks, Chase was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect by the name of tricuspid atresia. Basically what that meant for Chase was that the right side of his heart did not develop. So therefore, he would essentially be born with half of a heart. Just 3 weeks prior, I found out I was pregnant. That's a lot to swallow. 3 weeks later, I found out that he's going to be born with a congenital heart defect, half of a heart. That's a lot to swallow. I didn't share this with people initially because I didn't want the sympathy. I just wanted to have the normal pregnancy. I wanted it to just be normal. I wanted it to just be the way it should be for everybody. So I didn't share that with a lot of people. I went the rest of my pregnancy normal. I didn't say anything to a lot of people. So a lot of people didn't know. Because he was a heart baby, I was monitored really, really closely. I had to be monitored weekly for fluid, make sure he was growing, everything was going normal as possible. He was scheduled for a C-section on November the 12th. However, on the morning of November the 11th, he decided it was time for him to come anyway. So I got up that morning and I'm getting ready for work, and I'm like, wait a minute, something's different, something's not right. Called my then husband and I'm like, hey, I think you better come back home. Something's not right, we might need to go to the hospital. Went to the hospital, almost 15, 16 hours later, he was born. November the 11th, 2009, Chase Reed arrived at St. John's Mercy Medical Center. Little did I know, this was the first time that he's going to be a kid. It's going to be about what he wants to be about. So, he arrived, immediately rushed to the NICU because we knew that he had half of a heart. He would have to be on a lot of medication. So they took him away. We kind of looked at each other. I had a C-section. We kind of looked at each other like, it's you, it's me, okay. And they was them all. So, 4 days later, I was discharged from the hospital. And when I went downstairs, I was okay at first because it was just me and my ex-husband at the time. It was just us down there. And it wasn't until I saw other mothers coming down with their babies that it hit me. And I'm like, I don't get to take my baby home. Chase was immediately transferred at my discharge to Cardinal Glennon Medical Center. He had to go down there because he would have to have surgery. I tried to meet with this particular surgeon because I knew that in order for Chase to have a chance at life, we would have to do 3 surgeries. The first surgery would have to be at 7 days. The second surgery would be at 6 months, and the third surgery would be at the age of 3. So he had to go to Cardinal Glennon so that we could start this process to correct his heart to have the best chance at life that we could have. Chase went to Cardinal Glennon. The day of his surgery, which was at 8 days old, the very first surgery, in walks this doctor, and he's got snow white hair, he's got on a lab coat, he's got on some shoes that look like it's polished over them, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, ooh, I don't know about this one. This guy is an amazing guy. He says, Mom, I don't draw pictures, I know you got a lot of pictures. I'm not interested in drawing any pictures. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in, I'm going to put a shunt in on the right side of his heart. It's going to connect. It's going to connect everything. It's going to connect the heart to the lungs, and blood's going to start flowing, and we're going to start this process. I don't draw, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He's in good hands. I looked at my mom, and I'm like, okay, he comes highly recommended, so I'll send him on. First surgery was at 8 days old. This is him maybe a couple hours after surgery. Surgery was a success. They decided, well, after a couple weeks in the ICU, let's transition them down to step-down unit. We were there for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and they said, hey, we're going to send you guys home. The morning of the day we were supposed to bring him home, I got a call from the nurse. And the nurse says, hey Mom, she's really, really good. Hey Mom, hey Mom. I'm like, hi Barb, what's going on? She's like, you need to get to the hospital immediately. Something's wrong with Chase. He's coded. For those of you that may not know what coded is, it's basically he went into cardiac arrest and he had to have CPR and he had to have the breath. We don't know what caused it. So I get there, Chase is in the ICU. And they say, well, Mom, we got to run some tests, we got to run some procedures, and we got to see what's going on. So we sat for a couple weeks, and they ran these tests, and they ran these procedures. And basically what they came back and told me is, Mom, he has an issue with the left side of his heart. That's the only side of the heart that he has. So, like, what do you mean we have an issue with that? We don't know, but we're going to go in, we're going to put in another shunt. So he has already a shunt on the right side, and they're going to put in a shunt on the left side. First kid to have a double shunt on his heart. Okay, he goes in surgery. Surgery's a success. So we go. This is him, Christmas Day, 2009, after his second heart surgery that was not originally a part of our process. Surgery was a success, like I said, or so we thought. What we found out was that Chase had 4 coronary arteries, which actually proved to be really non-existent. I don't know if you know, but we need our coronary arteries to survive. So this is probably why we had a lot more of the complications than we thought we were going to have originally. Sorry, I'm paying attention to what he's doing. So he found out that he had 4 coronary arteries. So one day, me and my mom are standing at Chase's bedside, and in walks this doctor. Hi, Mom. Hi, Grady. I'm Dr. Schoenberg. I'm the transplant doctor. And I said, transplant doctor? And he's like, yes. The only way for Chase to survive is a transplant. And I'm thinking, this is the way you approach a parent about transplant. He's like, nobody's told you that this is Chase's option for life is a transplant? And I'm like, no, this is the first time I've heard this. We should probably schedule a meeting. We schedule a meeting. We go in with Dr. Schoenberg. We go in with Dr. Fiore, who's our doctor with the white hair and the lab coat. We go in with him, and they basically tell us that Chase has 4 coronary arteries, And the only way for Chase to survive is with a transplant. Lots of things went through my mind when I found out that Chase had to have a transplant. The first thought that came to my mind was, what about the other child? In order to give my child life, somebody has to lose their child. Hardest thing for me to deal with as a parent. I know that this is how the cycle of life works. However, somebody's going to lose their child. I don't want to see somebody lose their child. I don't want to lose my child. What do I do? The next question that came to mind was, what did I do to make this happen? I started my story by saying, and I found out I was pregnant for 21 weeks. So I'm thinking, did I miss some type of prenatal care? With, did I do this? Is it hereditary? My father died of a massive heart attack. My ex-husband's father died of congestive heart failure. Is it hereditary? There seems to be heart issues in our family. Did we do something? My next question was, will he survive long enough to get a transplant? I've heard stories, I've seen movies. People wait on the list for months, years. Some of them make it, some of them don't. He's only 2 months old, not even 2 months old. Will he really survive to get a transplant? My next question was, what are his chances of survival post-transplant? In order to have a transplant, they're going to take out the old heart, they're going to put him on this machine, it's going to run for him, they're going to put in the new heart, it's going to start pumping. But what if it doesn't? What if it does pump? What's his survival chances after that? I don't know. My last question was, are there any other options? We've already had 2 heart surgeries. He's not even 2 months old. Can we possibly do something different, not transplant related? Is there any other option? Dr. Fiore said no other options. We're sitting in the meeting with Dr. Fiore, and he's looking down, twiddling his thumbs, and I literally thought he was going to bust out in tears. And I kept thinking, if the surgeon cries, it's over for me, because I'm not going to make it, because he is so passionate about his children. If he's had your child is his child. If he cries, I don't know what I'm going to do. So they're like, Mom, you really need to consider it. Okay. 2-3 weeks, went home. We prayed about it. We talked about it. We had to build a support system. Transplantation is serious. I'm in the Heart Transplant Association meeting, so you guys know that. It's serious. You need a support system in order to make it. We decided on January 10, 2010 to place Chase's name on the UNOS list. Because Chase was in the hospital, because he was still in the ICU, because he was, intubated, he was on the breathing machine, Chase was on the top of the list. They introduced me to a family. Mom, I want you to meet this family. I said, okay, fine. I go in, I see this rambunctious little boy, I think he was at the time 2, had to have a transplant, placed on the list, got his heart in 2 weeks. So, of course, I'm like, 2 weeks. We can do that, we can make it. We made it this far, 2 weeks won't be hard, we'll do it. We sat on the list for a long time. I remember the surgeon coming to me at every holiday. Mom, we're going to get a heart this weekend. I was like, why do you keep saying that? Every holiday, why do you keep saying that? And he's like, Mom, unfortunately, that's how we get our organs. When people, drunk drivers, hit innocent people, they become donors. That's how you get your organs. And I'm like, every holiday I would cringe because I'm like, I want a heart, but I just don't want it like that. I know that that's how it came. So we waited. Days, weeks, months. Chase coded 7 or 8 times in between the time that we actually got a heart. Each time was worse than the time before. And I remember one of the doctors saying, Chase is like a cat. He has 9 lives. Every time he goes down, he bounces back. It's better than the time before. He said, I don't trust this kid. I just don't trust him. I said, okay, I see, because he's really becoming a child, all, doing his own thing. So we waited, and we waited, and the days went by, and the weeks went by. On June 17, 2010, I was at home, wiping down the counter, and I always thought that when I got my call, it would be in the middle of the night. I'd be asleep. They'd wake me up. I'd be scared out of my mind. However, it was 1:30 in the afternoon. Erin, who's my transplant coordinator, had a special ring on my phone. So I always felt like if she calls me, I know it's her because this is her ringtone. I won't have to wonder if this is Erin. For the most part, throughout the time that we were on the list, Erin and I would text. She was like, oh, back in the day, we used to give out pagers. We don't give out pagers anymore. We both got iPhones or Blackberries. I don't even remember what phone I had at the time, but texting was the in thing in 2009. So we would text. So on this particular day, I'm wiping down the counter, and I look at the phone, and it says, Erin, transplant coordinator. And it's ringing, and I'm like, Erin never calls me. Why is she calling me? So I answered the phone, and she's like, hey, Natasha. I was like, hi, Erin. She says, what are you doing? I said, oh, nothing. Just, cleaning up the house, getting ready for some company. And she says, you think you can come to the hospital a little early today? Sure. What's going on? I think it's time we do a transplant. And I'm like, standing at the counter, froze, and then the tears just start falling. Because again, my initial thought was the other child. Once I got myself together, Erin said, get yourself together, get you some clothes, call your family, don't get excited because we have a heart, but there could be something wrong. We don't know, but we're going to hope that this is the one. Just get here as safely as you can. Chase is here, he's already here. You don't have to worry about him, you just get yourself there. Fine. Got off the phone, called my mom, called my ex-husband. I'm bawling. They're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I just can't believe that we finally got to this part. I get to the hospital and they had told the nurses, but the nurses couldn't tell me. So we're walking around and everybody's looking at me like, I'm like, why y'all looking at me like that? And then they finally said, we know you got a heart. And I was like, yeah, so we're all jumping and crying. And I go in and I look at Chase. And he has a piece on him. Mom, he has this piece on him. Like, Mom, I'm gonna be okay. We're gonna do this, we're gonna make it, and everything's gonna be all right. I'm gonna pause right there and go backwards. Before I got my call, they asked me to put him in the cath lab because they wanted to see what was going on. And I told them, I said, no, you can't put him in the OR. The only way you can put him in the OR is if you're putting him in there for a transplant. They tried everything, everybody. Mom, we really gotta get him in there. Mom, we really no, if it's not hard, we can't do it for a week leading up to the day that I got the call. I believe God was telling me, hold on, your time's coming. So I get there, and Chase has this piece on. Family is there, we're all crying. The hospital, everybody knew him, so everybody's in there. Everybody in the hospital is crying. We rolled them off at 6 o'clock in the evening. Family and friends in the waiting room, we're all waiting. 11:45, I watch a helicopter come from in the distance and land on the helicopter door, on the helicopter pad. And off jumps this doctor, cute little doctor. She's got a Louis Vuitton bag on one arm, huge, and a cooler in the other hand. The cooler is Chase's heart. The cooler is Chase's second chance. Technology has changed. So when the heart got to the OR, Erin texted me, the heart's here. She had my camera. The top picture is Chase's old heart. They say that the heart should only beat maybe 10 minutes after after it's outside the body. I have a video, I haven't figured out how to play it on my PowerPoint. I have a video of Chase's heart, old heart, 15 to 20 minutes later, and it's sitting in that bowl, and it's still ticking. And I'm thinking, this heart gave us all this trouble. How dare you sit in this bowl and be, it's just not right. You gave us all this trouble. But it's sitting in that bowl just ticking. Just ticking. The bottom is Chase's new heart. At the bottom of my PowerPoint, I don't know if you can see it, but our wait time on the UNOS list was 5 months, 6 days, 13 hours, 26 minutes, and 53 seconds. We were on and off that list, but on June 17th, we got that call. This is Chase immediately after the transplant. He went in the OR at 6. He came out of the OR at 6. They were like, Mom, he's not gonna look the same. He's gonna look gray, and he's gonna look, because we gotta shut him all the way down and bring him all the way back up. He's not gonna look like your baby. When I walked in the room, the very first thing I saw was his tongue. His tongue was pink. Never in the 7 months of his life did he have a pink tongue, pink lips, pink hands, pink feet. Never. I actually thought that Chase was a darker complexion than he was because he was blue. This is him immediately after transplant. Transplant was a success. We sat in the ICU for 1 month, and they discharged us to TCU, which is a transitional care unit. We were there for a month. Again, at Cardinal Glennon, Chase is a local celebrity, so they brought in the news when we went home. Channel 2